Om. Om. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Priyatma Bandhulara. See, in the last session of the Bhagavad Gita, that was on 30th of November, we were discussing about a question, what is dharma according to Bhagavad Gita? In that, we covered some 7 points. Like Daivaranam, Rishirunam, Samajaranam, etc. Now, I will continue from there. Now, in the Samajaranam, we said we owe a debt to this society. Society means that is Samajam. Because we are not doing everything ourselves. There are millions of others who are doing their bit in their own way, so that we are all enjoying the fruits of the society collectively. Now, for example, had we not got the help from society, we would have been busy making our own milk, our own food grains, our own vegetables, our own fruits, our own clothes, our own bricks, our own cement, our own tires, nails, books, teaching notes for our children, medicines, engineering, etc., etc., etc. So, to think that we are not indebted to society is a big blunder. To repay the gratitude to the mother, father, guru, God, and society by everyone is the dharma of all human beings according to the Bhagavad Gita. The next point is to help others by doing only good deeds and to never harm anybody by indulging in any bad deeds is the dharma of all the human beings according to the Bhagavad Gita. Now, next point is not to possess any disruptive or discouraging tendencies in a way that harms us and the society is the dharma of all of us according to the Bhagavad Gita. Next point, to give something in charity to all and the serving of living beings in the society is the dharma of all the human beings according to the Bhagavad Gita. To shed ego, falsehood, and avoid pomp and show in real life is the dharma of all human beings according to the Bhagavad Gita. Next point, to give up the high-handed attitude towards one's caste, beauty, intellect, wealthiness, educational achievement, scholarly erudition in our day-to-day life is the best dharma of all the human beings according to the Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, next point, to not to indulge in false and illegal gratification in all walks of life is the dharma of all the human beings according to the Bhagavad Gita. Next point, to work only for the good of the society and to do all works always only in the public interest is the dharma of all the human beings according to the Bhagavad Gita. Next point, to be satisfied with what we have and to not feel jealous of others' positions is the dharma of all the human beings according to the Bhagavad Gita. Next point, not to worry over the past is the dharma of all the human beings according to the Bhagavad Gita. Next point, to practice external health and internal health, that is purification of mind of the individual, is the dharma of all the human beings according to the Bhagavad Gita. Next point, to read one's religious books and literature and to inculcate good discipline and attitude in one's life is the dharma of all the human beings according to the Bhagavad Gita. Next point, to inculcate good tolerance and straightforwardness in daily life is the dharma of all the human beings according to the Bhagavad Gita. Next point, to contemplate on all ill effects of the individual about the birth, the death, the diseases, the old age, and to take remedial action for all the human beings is the best dharma of all the human beings, according to the Bhagavad Gita. Now, according to Bhagavad Gita, there are what are known as divine qualities. These divine qualities we should possess. If we don't possess, we should strive to acquire them. The divine qualities, as told in the Bhagavad Gita, are possessing of fearlessness even in the midst of sorrow. Next point, having purity of mind. Next point, possessing discriminatory knowledge to be able to distinguish between good and bad. Next point, doing yajnas, that is havans, without aspiring for the fruits thereof. Next point, studying of the Vedas. Next point, practicing penance and meditation. Next point, observing non-violence. Next point, speaking the truth. Next point, not getting angry. Next point, shredding away that which is not good. Next point, controlling outward senses. Next point, non-resorting to backbiting or indulging in slander. Next point, possession of compassion. Next point, practicing of dhanam, that is charity. Charity is defined variedly in different ways. They are called dasadanams, that is 10 danas, and shodashadanas, that is 16 danas. Annadana, Vastradana, Kanyadana, Vidyadana, Jnanadana, Shramadana, Vagdana, Bhudana, Godana, etc. are different danas, that is charities. People having money and wealth indulging in charity is not a big deal. However, even poor people without having a lot of wealth, but within their limitations, should indulge in dhanam. That is, to the extent they can and must dole out. One should indulge in aparigrhitritvam, that is, giving in charity without expecting anything in return, is called apratigrhitritvam. It means without causing unpleasantness to the charity seekers and without expecting anything by the donors in return, selflessly and as per qualifications of the charity seekers, at appropriate place, at appropriate time, and to the deserving seekers, to part with a part of the earnings of the donor and to share his or her earnings with the others is called charity or dhanam. However, the donation acts undertaken in the guise of pleasing the elder, or nourishing of deep worldly desires, or earning name and fame, or to earn worldly positions, or to satisfy egoism, are to be avoided at all costs. However, the donors must give the donation with the right hand as if the left hand is not fully aware of the donation. Further, the donor should feel that he or she could not give the donation in the full measure to the maximum capacity of the donor, and with a guilty feeling that he or she could have given in a much larger measure than the donors have actually given. Whatever is given must be given with completeness and wholeheartedness to the seeker, with the feeling that enough is not being given by the donor, is called Uttamadanam. For people in the Grihasthashramam, Dhanam is the vitality of all the human activities. By the acts of Dhanam, the donor earns punyam, and with that punyam, he or she goes to heaven and returns to Bhulokam to become even more richer. And in this process, the person indulging in donations ascends higher and further higher levels in each successive life. Contrary to the above, people who don't do any dhanam are called as adhanulu or adhanas. The plight of adhanas would be as follows. It is given in the form of a slokam. I am reciting that slokam. Adhanas. Adhana doshena bhave daridro. Daridra doshena karoti papam. Papadavasyam narakam prayati. Punat daridro punareva papi. Meaning of the above sloka is, by virtue of not indulging in the charity, he or she in the next life becomes poor. By virtue of his or her poor nature, that is poverty, they indulge in unhealthy and vicious, not virtuous activities. And as a result, they earn papam, that is the opposite of punyam. As a result of the papam earned, they are again born as poorer, more poor and more poor. And the cycle goes on till they become poorest of the poor. Hence, everyone of the humanity must endeavor to help the deprived and the less privileged people to the extent they can without being miserly. Now, next point is desireless for inappropriate objects. Next point, that is, I am just giving the divine qualities. Possessing gentleness. Next point is feeling a sense of embarrassment in doing wrong or wrong things. Next point, possessing patience and forbearance. Next point, having splendor. Next point, having steadfastness. Next point, having purity and not harming others and absence of pride. So these are the most important teachings that Bhagavad Gita teaches us. Now, the next point is demonical qualities. We describe the divine qualities so far. Now I am going to describe about the demonical qualities. As against the above, those with the demonical qualities are those who are ignorant, prone to anger, who place an overemphasis on their lineage and wealth, those who are showy, and those who are harsh with others, and those they deny the existence of the Supreme One, they are selfish, identify themselves with the body, they are prone to strong passions, and are always, they indulge in worldly pleasures. Their main goal is to make money. They think that they are the doers of all actions. They have a sense of possession so extreme that they think that everything belongs to them. They boast of their achievements and of how they defeated someone or the other. They think that none is equal to them. They are jealous of other people. The Lord addresses Arjuna as the one who does not have a perverted mind and tells him that if a person follows the Shastras, he will be able to get rid of demonical qualities. If one adheres to the rules and cleanses oneself of demonical qualities or tendencies and acquires divine qualities, then one can attain the Supreme One. One should not do actions for oneself. If one does so, then even good action becomes sinful. So actions, when performed, must be performed with the right attitude, namely that he or she makes us do them, and the fruits of the actions must be surrendered to the God. This is the real dharma of every human being. If anyone lives like this, he or she would attain divinity without doubt. Now, the next question is, somebody is asking, what is the moral of Bhagavad Gita? Now, my answer is, before giving a straight answer, I will have to digress for a while to make my answer understandable to everybody. Arjuna, the Pandava prince, dropped his weapon, that is Gandivam, and gave an exhaustive lecture to Lord Krishna that killing his own kith and kin, that is Kauravas, that is Duryodhana's side warriors, for the sake of kingdom, that is half kingdom being Pandava's share, is a heinous crime. And instead, he, Arjuna, was prepared to forego their share, that is Pandava's share, and return to forest or to take to sannyas. Oh, Arjuna was under complete delusion and dilemma and was unable to take a correct decision as to whether Arjuna should fight with Kauravas or leave the battlefield without fighting and participating in the war. Now, at this juncture, Arjuna fell at the feet of Lord Krishna, urged him to give Lord's decision to fight or not to fight, because he was not able to take a decision by himself. Lord Krishna also could have given a simple yes or no type of answer to Arjuna. But instead, he chose to preach Arjuna the correct dharma to be followed by anybody, including Arjuna, what should be followed in discharging one's own duty. Obviously, by refusing to fight the war, Arjuna was moving away from his genuine duty, that is the duty to be done by Arjuna, himself being a Kshatriya. The duty of a Kshatriya is to fight in a war. By fighting in a war, Arjuna will not beget papam, even if he kills all the Kauravas in the war, including his cousins, elders, acharyas, etc., as his duty itself is to fight and kill his enemies in the war. A Sipai posted on international borders does not beget papam or pap if he kills his enemies as part of his duty. Similarly, a judge pronouncing judgment on the criminal for hanging him or her until death also does not beget papam, as pronouncing correct judgment is part of his normal duty. However, thinking that he will beget papam, Arjuna was not getting prepared for war with Kauravas in the Kurukshetra battle. This is dereliction of one's duty. So one should not exhibit dereliction of one's duty, but one must perform one's duty perfectly. This is what Bhagavad Gita teaches us. And to make Arjuna understand that Arjuna was refusing to perform his genuine duty of fighting in the war, Lord Sri Krishna teaches Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita the concept of Atma. What is the concept of Atma? That is the properties of Atma and also complete dharma of human beings to be followed by all the human beings under all the circumstances during the lifetime of all human beings. This teaching about Atma by Lord Sri Krishna to Arjuna is the nodal aspect in the entire Bhagavad Gita. The entire humanity should therefore be beholden to Arjuna for facilitating the divulgence of this truthful concept of Atma by Lord Sri Krishna through the Bhagavad Gita. Now, the concept of Atma is not easily intelligible to ordinary people, but it is very, very abstract. Lord himself says that in the following shloka of Bhagavad Gita. Acharyavat pasyati kachidayana, acharyavat vatati tathaiva chanya, acharyavatchayana manyasrudoti, trutapyenam veda nachaiva kaschit. This is shloka 29 in chapter 2. The meaning of the above shloka is as follows. Somebody is looking at Atma with awe, awe. Somebody else is telling about Atma with astonishment. Yet another fellow is listening about Atma in bewilderment. But having seen, having been told, and having listened to also, nobody exactly knows about Atma. Or in other words, the concept of Atma and its real understanding calls for deep analytical thinking, thorough analysis, and introspection. To make the reader understand this vague or rather difficult concept of Atma, let me tell the reader that the people in general have been following wrong beliefs in life. Many people have also been practicing these wrong beliefs since a very, very long time. Now, I'm going to describe about Atma by giving analogy of one, the concept of electricity. We say bulb is glowing, fan is rotating, motor is running, heater is getting hot, fridge is cooling, sewing machine is stitching, etc. But in reality, it is the electricity which is responsible for running all the above gadgets, that is electrical gadgets. Fan will not rotate on its own. Bulb will not glow on its own. Now this concept is difficult to be followed by lay people. That means it is the electricity which is the prime force that makes all the above electrical gadgets exhibit their respective functions. Now, I am again coming back to Atma. Similarly, the human body is inert, no vitality in absence of Atma inside the human body. Without Atma inside, the various limbs of the human body cease to possess their normal functions or properties. That is, eyes do not see, ears do not hear, nostrils do not breathe, mouth does not speak, legs do not walk, hands do not work, etc. When Atma is not there, the physical body of human being is dead. Now I am giving another analogy of cotton. We have a towel, we have a bed sheet, a pillow cover, a sari, a blouse, a banyan, a shirt, or a petticoat, etc. Even though they are all known by different names, we know that they are all made by the same material, namely cotton, C-O-T-T-O-N, cotton. Without cotton, all the above articles have no existence. But on seeing the individual items, we don't even remember the origin of these items from which they are all made, that is namely cotton. Similarly, I am giving another example, gold. We have a ring, a bracelet, a bangle, a chain, an ear stud, a waist belt, an anklet chain, etc. Even though these various ornaments are known by different names, we know that these ornaments are made by gold. Without gold, none of the ornaments can be made. But when we look at these various ornaments, we do not tend to connect them to their origin of gold. The above examples of what we have given above, namely concept of electricity, and then cotton, and then gold, it is very difficult at first sight to get this concept of their respective single item, pervading all the different gadgets or articles. In these above examples, it is the existence of the respective origins from which they all have emanated. That is what is important. That is, the common item in all electrical gadgets is electricity. The common item in all dresses is cotton. And the common item in all ornaments is gold. But if we consider the flower garland, apparently to the naked eye, we all see the flowers arranged in a continuous garland form. Hence, all the flowers are being held in garland form by an invisible thread, which is not visible to the naked eye. Without this invisible thread's support, the flowers cannot stay in the garland form, and they will all fall apart. So, we see that it is the thread that is supporting all the flowers in the garland. Similarly, if we consider the entire world by analogy, there must be something common like thread in garland that supports all items in this world. That common item is called Atma. That is, when we generalize the above individual concepts of electricity, cotton, gold, thread, etc., and integrate over the entire universe from minus infinity to plus infinity, we get the all-pervading, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent Atma, that is soul, which is imparting that individual property to each and every item in this universe. Looking from chemical angle, we say that all substances must be made of only individual elements of the periodic table. Similarly, in a more generalized way, Bhagavad Gita tells that everything in this world is made of an all-pervading common item, which is called as Atma or soul. That is what Lord Sri Krishna tells Arjuna in slokas 7-7 and 10-8 of the Bhagavad Gita. Now I am reciting sloka 7-7. Matta parataram nanya kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre maniganayava. This is sloka 7-7, meaning of the sloka. There is nothing whatsoever higher than me, that is God. O Arjuna, all this is strung on me, that is God, as clusters of gems on a string. That is the meaning of sloka 7-7. Now commentary. There is no other cause of the universe but me, God. I alone am the cause of the universe. That is what it means. The next sloka, 10-8, in which Lord Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samanvita. This is 10-8. Meaning of this sloka 10-8 is, I am the source of all. From me, that is God, everything evolves. Understanding that, the wise endowed with meditation worship me. That is Atma. That Atma, soul, is nothing but Chaturmukhena deveshu manushyanam gavadishu chaitanyamekam brahmatma prajnanam brahmamayapi. The meaning of the above sloka is as follows. The single Chaitanam, that is vitality, which is present in Chaturmukha Brahma, deities like Devendra, humans, horses, cows, etc., is Brahman, that is God. Because of this reason, the prajnanam, the prajna, the intelligence which is in my body is also Brahman, that is God. The same Brahman, God, which is present from an ant to elephant, from cows to horses, from humans to devatas and deities, is pervading the entire universe. That means Atma is present in all substances of the universe, both animate and inanimate. That is, soul is present in the whole of the universe. This is the absolute truth and nothing but truth. Similarly, look at the following sloka. Chaturasiti lakshesu sarireshu saririnam na manusyam vinanyatra tattvajnanam tu labhyate. The meaning of the above sloka is as follows. Out of 84 lakhs of living bodies created by God, except in the human body, it is not possible to get the Tattvajnanam, that is Atma Jnanam, in other living bodies. That means when Atma is wearing other bodies other than human body, it is not possible to understand Tattvam. Tattvam means Jnanam, Tattvajnanam. That Tattvajnanam is nothing but Atma Jnanam. To understand Atma Jnanam, let us first understand the concept of law of conservation of energy. The law of conservation of energy, here it is worth recalling the law of conservation of energy for an analogy here. That is, the energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Whenever one form of energy disappears, an equivalent energy must reappear in another form. That is, the indestructibility of energy is the universal law. Similarly, whenever a species like ant, horse, elephant, cow, human being is disappearing in one form by death, it will reappear in another form by rebirth. The same meaning Lord Krishna expressed in the Bhagavad Gita in the form of slokas 2-23 and 2-24. Now, I am going to recite those slokas 2-23. Nainam chindanti shatrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayantyapo, na soshayati marutaha. Meaning of the above sloka 2-23 is, weapons cut it not, that is, it cannot cut Atma. Fire burns it not, it cannot burn Atma. Water wets it not, that is, water cannot wet Atma. Wind dries it not, that is, wind cannot dry Atma. That is the meaning of the sloka 2-23. That is chapter 2, sloka 23. Commentary. The self is pathless. It is infinite and extremely subtle. So the sword cannot cut it, fire cannot burn it, wind cannot dry it. The next sloka 2-24 I am going to recite. Achedyo yamadahyo yamakledyo soshayevacha nityam sarvagatasthanu rachaloyam sanatanaha. That is sloka 2-24. The meaning of the above sloka is, the self, Atma, cannot be cut, burnt, wetted, or dried up. It is eternal, all-pervading, stable, ancient, and immovable. So our soul Atma is eternal, everlasting, immortal, and it is nothing but a part of cosmic soul, as given in sloka 15-7, that is chapter 15, sloka 7. Mamaivamso jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha manasashtani indriyani prakritistani karshati. Meaning of the above sloka 15-7 is, an eternal portion of myself having become a living soul in the world of life draws to itself the five senses with the mind for the sixth, abiding in nature. That is the meaning of the sloka 15-7. Now, water evaporates from sea and joins clouds in the sky. When rain comes from sky, the rain falls on the earth in the form of water droplets. Just as every drop of rainwater falling from the sky flows into canals, rivulets, rivers, leading them all to ultimately join the sea, the journey of an individual soul which has come from the cosmic soul continues its journey till the individual soul rejoins the cosmic soul. Just as the rainwater droplet encounters so many ups and downs in its journey till it ultimately joins sea, the Jivatma, that is individual soul, experiences many difficulties, trials, tribulations, and whatnot in its journey till it rejoins the cosmic soul. So one should realize that knowledge of Atma, knowing of Atma itself, and trying to attain the same in this life itself and before one's death are of paramount importance. If we miss the present human life, we don't even know whether we will again beget human birth. So everyone must endeavor to realize Atma in this life itself. The earlier you start the process of realizing and to know about Atma, the better it is for you. Because we are not sure of the impending death, and death can come even in the next minute. That is told in the next sloka 2-27. Jatasya hidro mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmada pariharyedhe natam sochitum arhasi. That is the sloka 2-27. Meaning of the above sloka is, for certain is the death for the born, and certain is birth for the dead. Therefore, over the inevitable, thou should not grieve. That is the meaning of sloka 2-27. That is why it is said that human creation is called the crown creation of God. And this human body has come after 84 lakhs of other living bodies, which should not therefore be wasted or frittered away in this life. So, if we utilize this human birth properly, we can understand and realize this Atma in this life itself, just like Arjuna. That is what is given in sloka 15-11 of Bhagavad Gita as below. Yatanto yoginaschainam pasyantya atmayavastitam yatantapya kritatmano nainam pasyantya chetasaha. The meaning of the above sloka is as follows. Among the yogis who are trying to see the Atma in themselves, those who are with pure heart only will be able to see the Atma. Even among those who are trying to see the Atma, if they are not pure-hearted, they will not be able to see the Atma. So, the whole practice of Bhagavad Gita is to purify the heart by adopting dharmic principles as prescribed in the Bhagavad Gita. According to Bhagavad Gita, even Arjuna could not get removed of his moha or delusion until Lord Krishna completed 10 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. It is only in Shloka 11-1, the beginning of the 11th chapter, Arjuna told that his delusion or moha, ajnanam, has completely got removed. Arjuna told, Mohoyam vigato mama, my delusion or moha, ajnanam got completely removed. So the removal of moha or ajnanam is not that easy because it is not accumulated, because it got accumulated over many, many lakhs of cycles of births and deaths. So, my dear friends, I think the removal of moha or ajnanam, that is selfishness, miserliness, angriness, cheating, deceit, untruthfulness, dishonoring dharmic principle, disrespecting elders, not following rituals, etc., is therefore the moral of Bhagavad Gita. And having been gifted with the human body, everyone should try to know this. Removal of ajnanam or moham leads to realization of Atma. Once you realize Atma, ajnanam vanishes and all illusions disappear. Your way to realize God is imminent. For all those who read this answer, may God help in overcoming their moha in this life itself. So this is the moral of Bhagavad Gita. So now I am giving the summary of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita forms a section of the sixth book of the Mahabharata, an important Sanskrit epic in the Hindu tradition that recounts a lengthy struggle and brief war between two sides of the Bharata family, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, over the kingdom of Hastinapura. The Gita recounts a dialogue in the moments leading up to the war between the Pandava warrior Arjuna and his charioteer and trusted advisor Lord Krishna, who turns out to be a worldly incarnation of Vishnu, a god who serves as the supreme being in many forms of Hinduism. However, Arjuna and Krishna's dialogue is actually recounted through a framed story. Sanjaya, an advisor to Dhritarashtra, the Kaurava's father and the blind king of Hastinapura, reports this dialogue to the king after the Pandavas have already won the war. In the first of the Gita's 18 sections or discourses, Sanjaya describes the extensive Pandava and Kaurava armies that meet to fight on the field of Dharma. While the Kauravas have more men, the Pandavas seem to have the gods' favor as they respond to the Kauravas' impressive conch horns with divine ones that shake the earth and sky. As Lord Krishna drives Arjuna's chariot into the middle of the battlefield, Arjuna realizes that he cannot bear to kill his cousins, which he believes would destroy the dharma or moral standing of his entire family and poison any pleasure he might derive from victory. Therefore, he lowers his weapon and begins to weep. Lord Krishna reprimands Arjuna at the beginning of the second discourse, calling him a coward and struggling that he is blind to the fundamental truth that people's souls do not die with their bodies. Rather, the eternal soul is reincarnated in another body. So Arjuna should not grieve for his family members, but instead follow his dharma as a kshatriya, that is warrior, by fighting. If he wins the war, Arjuna will rule the earth. If he loses, he will ascend to heaven. But if he refuses to fight, he will disgrace himself. In addition to grasping these truths intellectually, Lord Krishna says that people can learn to stop clinging to the fruits of action, turn away from the false realm of the senses, and free themselves from negative emotions by practicing yoga. Each of these routes promises to help people dissolve their sense of self, transcend the material world, and blissfully reunite with the absolute being called Brahman. In the third discourse, Arjuna asks why Krishna wants him to act if he believes that enlightenment comes from restraining one's impulses to action. Lord Krishna argues that everyone must act by virtue of being in the world, but that these actions are the working of material elements called gunas, rather than the will of the individual soul. The only pure form of action is sacrifice to the gods, which leads to gods to sustain human life on earth. Lord Krishna begins to reveal his true nature to Arjuna in the fourth discourse. He is eternal. He intervenes in the universe whenever necessary to maintain dharma and dedicates himself to those who perform sacrifices for him, especially those who sacrifice their knowledge by surrendering it to him. In the fifth discourse, Arjuna notes that the renunciation of action, that is, sannyasa and yoga, which is a form of action, seem to be opposites. Yet, Lord Krishna considers both as viable means to enlightenment. Lord Krishna replies that yoga is a means to renunciation because it allows people to overcome their ignorant motivations for action. In the sixth discourse, Lord Krishna explains that this mediative yogic discipline allows people to understand their unity in Brahman with all other beings, which can lead them to transcend the cycle of rebirth, that is samsara, or at the very least, reincarnate into purer bodies. In the seventh discourse, Lord Krishna explains that he truly encompasses everything, from all the material things that comprise the earth to his higher being, the force that creates and dissolves the world. His true being is formless, timeless, and beyond all dualities. He loves the wise few who understand these fundamentals. In Discourse 8, Lord Krishna suggests that people can transcend rebirth and join him directly if they learn to fix their minds on him constantly, and particularly at the moment of death. In the ninth discourse, Lord Krishna expands that all pervasive nature, absolute power over the Lord, and providence over those who worship him. In the 10th and 11th discourses, Lord Krishna turns from intellectual explanation of his power to concrete demonstration of this. The God professes his love for Arjuna, who in turn acknowledges him as the highest being of all and asks about his divine forms. Lord Krishna begins to enumerate these forms, declaring himself the greatest of each kind of thing, person and force that exists in the world, as well as the characteristic in virtue of which such kinds exist at all. He is wisdom among the wise and authority among rulers, silence among the hidden, and the ancient seed of all beings. But Lord Krishna's numerous descriptions barely scratch the surface of his infinite power. He shows himself to Arjuna in the 11th discourse, taking on a form with innumerable eyes, mouths, and limbs that seems to contain everything, including infinite light, all the Bharata warriors, the entire world, and all the other gods. Arjuna worships Krishna with shock and fear, apologizing for his ignorance and asking the incomparable one for mercy and patience. Lord Krishna notes that nobody, not even the god, has seen this form before. After securing Arjuna's eternal feelings about God, Lord Krishna goes on to explain that it is easier for devotees to worship his embodied forms than to grasp his true, formless self, and offers practical advice for Hindus of different dispositions in his 12th discourse. In the 13th discourse, he distinguishes the body from the eternal, immaterial soul that bears various bodies on its way to enlightenment. The gunas that comprise the body and bind the soul to it, sattva, that is purity, rajas, that is passion, and tamas, that is ignorance, are the subject of Lord Krishna's 14th discourse. By relinquishing Rajasic and Tamasic for the sake of Sattvic gunas, people can rise up toward disembodiment through the cycle of reincarnation, that is samsara. Lord Krishna begins the following discourse, that is 15th one, with the image of a holy Ashwatha tree, whose roots can be severed by the strong axe of non-clinging. Again, by relinquishing one's attachments to action, one can overcome even the most firmly rooted connections to the world and integrate oneself into the indestructible, eternal spirit that lies behind apparent reality. In the 16th discourse, Lord Krishna distinguishes characteristics of the divine person needing enlightenment, like truthfulness, self-control, discipline, compassion, and courage, from those of greedy, angry, demonic people who turn away from Vedic laws and elevate desire about God. Arjuna asks Lord Krishna to elaborate on Vedic rituals in the 17th discourse, and the Lord tells him that Sattvic people perform sacrifices according to Vedic law in order to honor the gods and without any simultaneous material goals. He also outlines three forms of food, bodily discipline, and gift giving in accordance with these three gunas. In the final discourse, that is 18th, Lord Krishna emphasizes the distinction between renouncing all action, which usually happens because of desire, and acting for action's sake, without an attachment to consequences of our desire. People who can relinquish this interest in the fruits of action are called tyagis, and in their action they perceive all beings as eternal dimensions of the same unified whole, following the dharma fearlessly and steadfastly. He notes that dharma often follows one's position in the caste system, which in turn reflects people's inner nature, and emphasizes that one must fulfill this prescribed role even if imperfectly in order to purify oneself. Accordingly, Lord Krishna implores Arjuna once again to fight the war, but reminds him that the destiny is his alone. Finally, Lord Krishna requests Arjuna's absolute devotion and charges him with spreading the God's message to those sufficiently disciplined and devoted to properly receive the highest hidden truth. Arjuna resolutely agrees. In the Gita's closing lines, the minister Sanjaya expresses his gratitude and enthusiasm at hearing Lord Krishna's words and declares that Arjuna is blessed to bring splendor, victory, well-being, and wise conduct wherever he goes, which suggests that the Pandavas are destined to win back Hastinapura. Now, the next question is, what are some of important principles of life told in Bhagavad Gita? Now, my answer is, Bhagavad Gita told about Karma Yoga. This means how to do our duty to get maximum benefit out of our work. This is covered under Nishkama Karma. The principles given here are useful to all students, teachers, employees, executives, CEOs, managing directors, chairmen and managing directors, housewives, doctors, lawyers, engineers, technologists, scientists, and people from all walks of life. Second point, Bhagavad Gita told about devotion to God, that is Bhakti Yoga. How to worship God, methods of worship, that is Sakara Upasana, idol worship, and Nirakara Upasana, that is non-idol worship. Now, third point, Bhagavad Gita told about Raja Yoga, that is Yamam, Niyamam, Asanam, Pranayamam, Pratyaharam, Dharana, Dhyanam, and Samadhi. Now, fourth point, Bhagavad Gita told about Jnana Yoga, that is about Jnana Tapas, Jnana Yajnam, Jnana Abode, Jnana Fire, and Jnana Sword. Fifth point, Bhagavad Gita told about Dhyana Yogam, meditation, methods and principles of practices, difficulties encountered during practice, and overcoming these difficulties. Now, sixth point, Bhagavad Gita told about Atma, properties of Atma, how to realize Atma, Atma Jnanam, and method of attaining Atma Jnanam. The characteristics of Atma Jnani, that is man of perfection, that is Stita Prajna. Seventh point, Bhagavad Gita told about origin of life, its sustenance and its destruction, constitution of the world and its components. How is God? Where is God? How to know Him? Eighth point, Bhagavad Gita told about Maya or illusion. What is Maya? How to know it? How to overcome Maya? Who can't overcome Maya? When can you overcome Maya? And how are people who are out of Maya? Now, ninth point, Bhagavad Gita told how to die, what one should do at the time of death, what is the importance of time of death, types of death, and who will be reborn and who will not be reborn. 10th point, Bhagavad Gita told about Raja Vidya, Raja Rahasyam, that is princely Vidya and princely secret, the oversimplified nature of Raja Vidya, which is both theoretical and practical. Despite this, why people don't practice Raja Vidya? How even the bad-natured people could convert to good-natured ones. Now, 11th point, Bhagavad Gita told about the most magnificent identities of God and all-pervadingness of God. 12th point, Bhagavad Gita told about the powerfulness of God and His soft, simple, as well as multifaceted, multidimensional, multi-ambient forms in all its glorified nature. 13th point, Bhagavad Gita told about the pure devotee and his or her characteristics of a good nature. Which type of devotee is most loved and liked by God? 14th point, Bhagavad Gita told about the living bodies and non-living bodies, characteristics of Jnani and characteristics of God. 15th point, Bhagavad Gita told about the nature of three gunas, their characteristics, and the secrets of past, present, and future relations of people and how they are formed. 16th point, Bhagavad Gita told about moksham, how it is, where it is, how to attain, and who can't. Describe the mechanism of crops, food digestion, and what goes with the dead ones. 17th point, Bhagavad Gita told the characteristics of divine and demonic types of people. What happens in the ultimate analysis to both groups? 18th point, Bhagavad Gita told about sincerity and insincerity, outcomes of both groups, what to eat, what not to eat, and how to do tapas, charity, and yajnam. 19th point, Bhagavad Gita had told about rains and crops, how to get bountiful rains and crops, what to do, what not to do, what is sannyasam, caste system, secret of doing karma, and how to attain God and His bliss. 20th point, the above are briefly the important principles of life covered in Bhagavad Gita. Now, my dear friends, I think I will stop here for today, having told about Bhagavad Gita. Now, next is somebody has asked me, how close are you to your father-in-law? That I will tell in the next class. In fact, my father-in-law, who was not even believer of God, he believed God because of seeing us, myself and my wife, and ultimately he also attained moksham. That I am going to tell in the next class. So, by praying to God, I will end today's session. Om यदक्षरपदभ्रष्टं मात्रा हीनं च यद्भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां देव परमेश नमोऽस्तु ते हरिः ओम्।